Why did every single federal judge in the Middle District of Tennessee just walk off Brian Harpole's case against Candace Owens without saying why? Because Candace Owens is now in a lawsuit where the court itself is worried about fairness and appearances, and the judges decided the cleanest solution was to step away and bring in someone from the outside. This is the actual order from the federal court, not a blog post, not a tweet. It says, as all district judges and magistrate judges of the Middle District of Tennessee have recused in this matter, a district judge from outside the district will be designated by the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals. There is no explanation in the text, no mention of Candace Owens, Brian Harpole, politics, or threats. Just everyone is recused and the Sixth Circuit will send a new judge. And the wild part is what this order quietly sets up. Candace's case won't be decided by any local judge. It's going to be handed to a judge from outside the district, chosen by the Sixth Circuit with no history in this gag rule fight and no skin in the game. So, stick around to the end of this video because I'm going to show you exactly why every judge walked off this case and what it means for who decides Candace Owens' future in this courtroom. So, let's talk about what happened inside this court that made every judge decide they shouldn't be anywhere near this file. First, Brian Harpole is Charlie Kirk's former head of security. He sued Candace Owens, her companies, and her former podcast guest, Mitchell Snow, for defamation and conspiracy after Owens promoted a story that tied him to an alleged assassination plot against Charlie Kirk. That case is filed in the Middle District of Tennessee. At first, it looks like a normal federal civil action, complaints, service issues, scheduling. Then this order drops, and the entire bench, every district judge, every magistrate judge, recuses. Mass recusal like this is extremely unusual. Judges recuse individually all the time because of family ties, financial interests, or prior involvement in a case. But it is rare for an entire court to say, we all have a problem with this file. So, what happened? Candace Owens brought in a particular lawyer, Daniel Horwitz. He filed a notice of appearance for Owens personally and for her businesses. Horwitz has a history with this court. Before Harpole ever sued Owens, Horwitz sued the Middle District of Tennessee and 4 of its judges over Local Rule 83.04, the court's gag rule limiting what attorneys could say publicly about pending cases. He argued that rule violated the First Amendment and due process, that it chilled ordinary truthful commentary about ongoing litigation. That earlier case against the court did not end with a dramatic jury verdict. It ended on sovereign immunity and standing grounds. The court was dismissed as a defendant. But something important still happened. After that fight, the Middle District quietly amended the gag rule that Horwitz had attacked, loosening its restriction on attorney speech. In other words, this court and this lawyer already have a history together. He sued them over their own speech rule. They changed that rule. Now he appears in front of them again, this time representing Candace Owens in a high-profile defamation case. From the court's perspective, that is a serious appearance problem. If they rule for Owens, it could look like they are rewarding the lawyer who forced them to change their rule. If they rule against her, it could look like retaliation against the lawyer who sued them. So, instead of trying to walk that tightrope, the judges did something very simple. They all stepped off the case and asked the Sixth Circuit to send in a new judge with no personal stake and no history in that fight. People have floated other possibilities such as political heat around the assassination allegations, general concerns about security, undisclosed conflicts, but none of that appears in the order itself. The only written explanation we have is the recusal and the request for a judge from outside the district. So, if you want to see more of what these courts are actually doing behind cases like this and not just clips and outrage, please like this video and subscribe, because now we can talk about what this mass recusal really changes for Candace Owens and Brian Harpole. First, what it does not do. It does not decide Candace Owens' motion to dismiss. It does not decide any anti-SLAPP petition under Tennessee's Public Participation Act. It does not decide whether Harpole wins or loses on the merits. The claims are still there. Owens' 12b-6 and TPPA arguments still have to be ruled on. What it does change is who will decide those issues. A district judge from outside the Middle District of Tennessee will be designated by the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals to take over this case. That judge will not have been a defendant in the gag rule lawsuit. That judge will not have modified Local Rule 83.04 in response to Horwitz' challenge. That judge will not have the same institutional history with Candace's lawyer that the recused judges have. That is the inner working story here. From the outside, it looks mysterious. Every judge is gone and no reason is given. From the inside, the most logical explanation is that the court saw a real risk to the appearance of fairness and decided the only clean answer was to get out of the way. So, the next chapter in Harpole v. Owens, whether Candace Owens can use anti-SLAPP, whether Harpole's claims survive the motion, whether discovery ever reaches the assassination allegations, will be decided by a judge with no personal history in this local fight. It does not mean the system is rigged. For Candace Owens, if you're for Candace Owens or against her, it means that the system is trying to protect the legitimacy of whatever comes next by making sure the judge who rules on her case is someone who has never been in the lawsuit against her lawyer. So, that is the Candace Owens judge recusal story you're not supposed to connect. Thank you very much.